Do you remember the movie Babe? You know, that one about the really adorable pig who was the star of the movie? And for some crazy reason, I don't know why, I reference Babe all the time. Now, maybe it's because years ago my family had a miniature pig for a pet. Her name was Bob. Yep, her. And my kids just adored her. Now, since then, I've always had this special place in my heart for pigs. Yeah, and I'm smiling right now. But because of that, I've been really excited about this week's episode. Susan Armstrong-Magidson, she's the founder of Ross Mill Farm, the home of the pet pig. She joins me. Susan is simply amazing. Her knowledge and love of pet pigs is endless. Here's some fun facts. A miniature pig does not mean miniature, like you would normally think. It means that they're really about the size of a medium-sized dog. Also, pigs are highly intelligent. Now, we get into those facts and much more. Ross Mill Farm, though, is nestled on 30 acres in Pennsylvania on a farm that was built in the 1700s. Now, I really think that's pretty cool. They've got a pig placement network. They offer education for pig owners, and they promote the domestication of pigs as pets and so many other things. What really struck me when we were talking is how the farm is so integrated. Get this. They're making pig food that's healthy for pigs. There was nothing around for it. They make harnesses so you can walk your pig. Yep, walk your pig. Now, they weren't around either. Also, get this one. They have a boarding facility for you to board your pig for short-term or long-term stays. Pretty unique. But like any rescue, yes, they're rescue pigs too. They're always looking for ways to help support their programs financially, and they're pretty creative. Here's a cool one. They sponsor events where you can kiss a pig. Now, I could go somewhere else, but I'm not going there. This is a really fun episode, and I'll bet you will squeal, yep, I went there, with delight when you hear everything Susan has to say. You may even want your very own Babe.
For real, 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 for real. Got a bunch of furry friends and I love them all the same. I'm an animal lover, veterinarian is the name. Let's share some pet stories from heartwarming to strange, losses and gains, from wacky to insane. For real. You're now tuned in to For Real with your host, Mark Kyle.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the For Real podcast. I've got a great guest today. I've got Susan Armstrong-Magidson, hopefully I pronounced it right, a Ross Mill Farm. Their motto is Home of the Pet Pig. And first off, Susan, thanks for joining me. I'm really excited to have this one for a variety of reasons. So I'm really glad you have the time to talk to me.
Well, it's so great to be here too, Mark. Thank you very much.
Well, you know, what's funny is when I really started delving into what you guys do, and you guys do some amazing stuff. When we had originally talked, and for you guys that are listening out there, years ago, for my kids, I had a potbelly pig myself. So I've got some experience with it. And so it really makes it more exciting for me because I've got a little bit of familiarity, but not nearly as you do. So, Susan, let's get into you first before we talk about the farm. I know you're the founder and owner and all that kind of stuff, but let's go with your background, how you ended up doing what you're doing, and then let's get into pigs and talk about how cute these guys are and how fun they are as pets.
Well, Mark, I guess I should start to explain this by saying that I was a professional. I was a special events marketer.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of traveling to different events, et cetera, et cetera. And I started as an animal lover, not necessarily a pig lover, but an animal lover, where I had 2 horses and 2 goats and 2 sheep. I just had a little mini farm with lots of chickens and ducks, and I just loved it. My husband and I both shared our love for animals. So even though we were very busy people, we had a business in New York City, I wanted everything that I could get on Old MacDonald's farm.
That's great.
So since I had everything but a pig and a cow, I kind of thought maybe it would be a nice idea to get pigs. I saw the pigs, they were huge. And I decided, no, my farm isn't made to have an animal that big. So I passed on pigs, and I also passed on a cow. But the guy over at the feed mill tells me that they had little miniature pigs. Well, I didn't believe him at first, but sure enough, they had miniature pigs. And there was a breeder who had just started breeding potbelly pigs that lived very nearby. So I visited her and I purchased for $5,000 an unrelated breeding pair, a little girl and a little boy who neither of them had been even born yet.
$5,000.
5,000.
Wow.
$5,000 for the breeding pair. And of course, you know, when you pay that much money, you kind of think twice about getting them neutered and spayed. So I thought, well, you know, I might want to breed. So I brought my little boy home at about 8 weeks old. His name was Bromley. And then I waited a little longer, and Blossom came to me. And so I had these two cute little pigs, but didn't have a lot of information.
So, can I, real quickly, Bromley, it wasn't after the name, the actor, what are the guy's name? Bromley was his last name. I can't remember. It was in like, I forget what movies. That guy that always looked older than he was.
No, Bromley was because I purchased him from a man named Bromley.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I love two B's. BB.
B and Bromley and Blossom.
Yeah, great names.
So I understand this very well now, but at the time I had no idea that little boys could reproduce before they were even 3 months old.
Oh, wow.
And little girls can hold that pregnancy until they're at 4 months old. But so by the time Blossom was a year old, I was a breeder. And by having that first litter, I just fell in love. And it was about a year and a half after I brought Bromley home. We sold our business in New York City. I came home and started a little business. It was Ross Mill Farm was the name of the property that we owned. So I just put the ink on the end of Ross Mill Farm and made it a little mini business.
Wow.
My little business was catering to people who were buying my pigs. I felt obligated as a breeder, having never bred anything before in my life, that we should be responsible for the pig. If you're going to produce it, you should be responsible. So education was a key part of my makeup at the very beginning. And that is still today one of the key things that I am firm on. We need to make sure people understand the nature of the pig. So that kind of gives you a little overview of how I started.
Well, you know, one thing, your website, and we can get into that towards the end, where what it is really gets into all the how responsible you guys are and across the board. So you were in New York, but isn't Ross Mill in Pennsylvania right now? That's where it is, right?
Yes. We're outside of Philadelphia, about an hour north.
So you know what I love about that? I love history. First off, that was built in the early 1700s. Is that right?
Oh yes. So you have been doing your homework.
Oh yeah. Occasionally, I do my pig work all the time.
So we have a cottage on the property that was the first building here, and that was in 1696.
Wow.
The barn probably from like 1730. 32, the house 1734, the carriage house probably about 1780.
That's awesome.
So we have all these wonderful old buildings here at the farm. It's one of the things that makes it charming.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm jealous. And you've got like 30 acres or something like that?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm thinking about, a pig's life, right? They're living in this wonderful place. It's got all this history back in the Benjamin Franklin days.
Yes, before they had pet pigs, that's for sure.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. By the way, I was thinking while you were talking too, is your pig's name were Bromley and Blossom, and my pig's name was Bob. So maybe all pigs are supposed to start with a B.
What?
I don't know. We have the three Bs now. So again, this wasn't a plan, and you started doing this stuff. And so let's talk a little bit about not a little bit, let's talk a lot about that. Because one of the things that I learned when we had our pet pig, Bob was great. My kids loved him. One of the things that I learned, and let's talk about real diet, but they'll eat anything. The term when they say they eat like a pig will eat anything. I know that for a fact. And he would. What's also was surprising for me having a pig was how fast those guys are. They were really fast. But we talked about this when we were first talking about doing this, is that we fed Bob too much, and they grow bigger than what they're supposed to if you overfeed them. So can we get into a little bit of that and the history of them and all the other stuff?
Oh, sure. So the history is pretty brief. They came in through Canada. They came into the United States about 88. I got Bromley and Blossom in 1990. So that's just, they came in the United States really not for pets at the very beginning, but to supply zoos with pigs that came from Southeast Asia. So that's why they were named the Vietnamese potbelly pig.
Right.
So that's a little history. Now, about their dieting, we know that pigs become obese. And when I say obese, I mean extreme obesity.
Yeah.
A 90-pound, let's call it 100-pound, just to round it up, a 100-pound pig could very well be 300 pounds. And that is just 200 pounds overweight is so much. It takes such a toll on their joints. They go fat blind. They become more timid and anxious because they can't see, they can't get away. So they're very cranky in that fat body. When we release them from that obesity, when we diet, we find not only health improvements, but also behavior improvements. They become alive. They find joy. They kick up their heels. It is an awesome, awesome thing. And people who have taken in a obese pig and dieted it and got it back to a good place are overjoyed with how they have managed to do that. But food is important. You don't feed a pig, you should a lot. It only needs grain, greens. Certainly, grazing is one of the things they should be getting, and very, very little fruit.
I didn't know that you could actually put and I don't, just because I didn't know, but I didn't know you could put a pig on a diet and actually have them lose weight at all. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, the it's got to be pretty extreme because if you cut back, they're only going to maintain that 300 pounds. You cut it way back. You have to really force that body into using its fat as part of its energy.
Now, so one of the things that I read and help me here because one of of course Wikipedia is whatever who put it in there, but they were saying at one point they say Vietnamese potbellies. They came into Canada and they came into the US, but at one point, and I forget the years, I've got it written down somewhere, but they were almost endangered. They were like 600, it went from like 675,000 to like 120. Is that the same pig that I'm thinking it is, or is that something else?
I don't know that fact. So
Okay.
if it is a fact, I'm not aware of it.
Well, it may not be a fact. It may just be a Wikipedia bullet point kind of a thing. So let's talk about. So I remember when I got mine, and this it helps me, and I'm assuming for people out there too. When you hear about miniature pigs, the potbelly pigs, Let's talk about the real size because I think everybody thinks they're going to be these little cute little things that are little tiny things. I know there's the teacup or the mini, whatever they called it, but they're really not that. They're not as tiny as you would think they would be. What's an average size?
100 pounds.
Oh, 100 pounds. I don't think mine was. I think Bob was more like, I don't know, 60 pounds or something like that. But, but he was still big because I thought, in my mind, when you heard miniature, you think it's a little like you'd think a miniature dog or something. That's not that case. They're still pretty big.
So this is a miniature to its species,
Okay.
which is swine.
Okay.
So a better term would be miniature swine.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So when you see it that way, because the world has a variety of pigs, swine,
Right.
of all sizes and shapes and colors, but it's these are probably only 10% of a full-grown, let's say, Yorkshire pig, who might be 1,000 pounds, 1,200 pounds. So 10%, 100 pounds, 110. So miniature is a correct term for them, but
Right.
just so they know, it's miniature swine.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing is that, the average person that doesn't know anything about them, and I was one of those people, is when I hear miniature, I'm thinking, miniature dog kind of a thing that you would think, but it really miniature swine because a hog or a swine, they're huge. And so these are small compared to them. And for you guys listening, that's kind of the point I'm trying to make is they're not that tiny. They're like a medium-sized dog with weight on them.
Exactly, Mark. Also, there are no teacups. So we've got a lot of different names that breeders will use to make it sound like they are
Right.
really, really small.
Yeah. Until you get them. Yeah. Well, that's almost fake, false advertising at some level.
It is. It definitely is.
So let's get back to you and what you're doing. And I want to get back. I'm going to this is typical of my mind, but let's talk more about you start doing this stuff and you recognize, and I'm guessing this by the way, but based on what I see, when I was reading your guys' website and that, you recognize there was a big need for a variety of things in the pig world for people who are doing that. You do so much more than just raise pigs and sell them or whatever, but find homes for them. Let's get into everything you guys do.
All right. Well, Ross Mill Farm is a small business. One of our big incomes would be for boarding other people's pigs. So we may have as many as 40 pigs or 45 pigs in our facility. We built a actual building. We call it the lodge. It has 38 rooms in it. So it's the lodge at Ross Mill Farm. So boarding is one of the main things, also because we had a need to develop a better food than what I was finding on the shelves at the farm market. I manufactured a potbelly pig food called Champion.
That's cool.
So that when I sell a bag of Champion to a customer, I am paying for a bag of Champion for my pigs. So it's the way that I support the farm and all of its services, support an organization that I found in 1998 called Pig Placement Network. Going back to what Ross Mill Farm does, though, we also manufacture a harness that it fits the anatomy of a pig instead of a dog. And so we sell a fair amount of harnesses and food. So we have a little online store with other products as well. That's another point of income. I have lots of services. Grooming, in our new facility that we built, well, not so new, it's almost 20 years old. But in that facility, we have a grooming room. It's also a vet room. We provide vet services for our customers.
Well, first off, I'm going to interrupt you a little bit. One is what I like what you've done is you've looked at it and said, okay, you found needs. As an example, using your food. you want to have these guys be more healthy. And, when I was reading a lot of stuff that, there, you can almost give them on a vegetarian diet because apparently that's really good for them as well. And you found that neat. Now, let me ask you a question. So you've got this boarding facility, which I think is phenomenal, but it's also almost, in my mind, a little bit of kind of funny, the whole boarding facility for pigs. Do you have a lot of pigs in the area? Or do you get some from like out of state that come and stay there? How does that work?
I do get from out of state. One of the reasons I have short-term boarders, which are more close by,
Right.
within an 8-hour drive, let's say, they will bring their pigs to me while they go on vacation for short periods of time when they're selling a home, that type of thing.
Right.
So we have short-term boarders, but we also have long-term boarders. And the reason that I have so many long-term boarders is because it's a solution to the problem that people have that is more temporary. So I need to go do something for the next year or the next 6 months.
Right.
And so this gives, in any other scenario, they'd have to find a new home for their pig.
Right.
Those pigs will come to me from even a greater distance. I've had California, Washington, certainly Florida, Maine, and other states that are nearby. So they come from long distances because I am one of the only ones that do this kind of work. Although I am extremely proud to say that I do have a couple of wonderful young women who are following in my footsteps, and one's in Virginia and one's in New Mexico. And those women are kind of doing some of the things that I'm doing here. So maybe we'll have a little more facilities in the future.
Yeah. Well, so when they like, let's use California, do they drive them to you or do they actually put them on planes?
Well, both.
Uh-huh.
There are no planes. It's all done by the ones that from Seattle. They drove their pigs to me. They were gone about a year and a half, and then they had a horse transport take them back to Seattle.
For real, 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 for real.
And we'll be right back. We are supported by PrepVet, providing stem cell therapy for pets.
As a pet lover, did you know your pet can benefit from the incredible healing power of stem cell therapy? Prep Therapy offers a groundbreaking solution taken right from your pet's own blood. Say goodbye to joint pain, arthritis, kidney and liver conditions, and more. They'll experience faster recovery, increased vitality, and extended quality of life without the need for surgery or harmful drugs. Put the wag back in their tail and discover Prep Therapy today at PrepVet.com. Save 10% with promo code FurRealPodcast, covered by most pet insurance.
So one of the things that, and correct me this, I'm just using my experience of having Bob, and Bob was really social and he got along, like we had dogs. He got along with the dogs. We had a cat, and he was a great family pet. And and I know that they're kind of prey animals as well, but some of the stuff I was reading, I'm a little bit confused for, but can you enlighten that a little bit more or just get into that a little bit? I mean, I found, at least Bob was, maybe he was an exception, but they're pretty social, right?
They're very social. They are so smart. They have such a high degree of intelligence that each one is so different from the other that we can't group them all in and say they all get along with dogs or they all get along with kids.
Right.
That's not true. Some are beautiful. I just got off the phone with somebody who has got a very young family and 2 pigs that are just like absolutely perfect for this young family. And I have other consultations where the dog and the pig are not getting along. The kids and the pig are not getting along. So,
But that can happen with any animal, so that's not that unusual.
that's true. That's true. But dogs are predators to pigs. So we do have to be sure that when we leave, that we are
Right.
mostly any incidents that happen between dogs and pigs. Usually, you'll find it's when nobody was home.
Well, I tell you, one of the times just sitting there thinking, my memory, it's been several years since we had Bob, but they're fast. Those little suckers, I mean, to catch them, if you try to get them inside, they'll dart really quick. They can turn on a dime. And mostly you would think, they're big and they don't move that fast. They can move. They're fast.
Mhm.
So getting back to the other thing that you have, you make the harness. Is that for people to walk their dogs? I mean, walk their pigs?
Oh, yes, yes.
That's hilarious.
We have lots of people who harness train, especially those that bring their pig for boarding
Uh-huh.
on a regular basis. They will have a harness and a lead on them and walk them up a ramp and into the SUV and, close the hatchback and off they go.
But they can't be trained like a dog, like to sit and stuff like that, right?
Oh, yes, they can.
Oh, they can?
They are very, very smart. If anybody wants to see how smart a pig is, they can check out Top Hogs. It's a animal trainer, and he is magnificent with his pigs. He trained me years and years ago. And so I know the basics of training. I don't spend a lot of time training, but I do know that they can learn their colors and shapes, and they can even pick out certain alphabets, like the word pig. They can find P, then an I, and then a G, and point it out to you. They can do sit and figure eights. They walk on a harness. I mean, they go for walks in the park.
That's awesome.
Have one customer who lives in a major city, and they go for a walk every day down the little sidewalk and into the park.
Well, I'm thinking the term pig-headed, but that doesn't sound pig-headed. It sounds pretty smart. I didn't know that. I mean, Bob knew his name because I could call him and he would come if he wanted to, and maybe that's where he became pig-headed. So I'm not coming. I don't want to come anything right now. Basically, we had to bribe him with food, and then it would be easier to get him. Is the way we did. He loved apples. I remember that.
I do think that a lot of people are like you, Mark, where you're using the food to maneuver or to manipulate the pig's behavior. But when you do use food, which is a high motivator for pigs, and of course
Yeah.
you have to use food when you're training them to learn their numbers or learn how to sit or spin. The training can also be reversed, where when it comes to food, the pig starts to manipulate your behavior so that you're going to give them more food because they're
Yeah.
refusing to go outside. So you want them out. So you're throwing food out there. Well, the pig kind of knows that that's what he's going to get if he is stubborn in going outside. So but they start to manipulate your behavior, and then it becomes sometimes problematic in a family.
Sounds like my kids, actually.
Well, I'm going to tell you that they have been studied, and they feel that they found that the pig is like a 3-year-old child.
Well, and Bob was just such a great experience. My kids still talk about him now, and they're grown now. Well, I want to go back at one question I meant to ask you earlier. I saw that the Vietnamese pig is also called by the letter I.
Yeah.
What I really found really kind of clever and fascinating about it, it's the smallest named animal in the world by calling it I.
I didn't know that, but it is I.
It's the only animal in the world that has one letter.
I didn't know that, but I do know it was an I.
Yeah, well, when I was reading about it, and I kept thinking it was like in Wikipedia or something, and they would go I, and then go, why do they keep an I? They must have messed up not typing potbelly pig or something. And then when I started digging into more research, I saw the I, and that's what it is. It's called an I, which is the funniest name ever. I don't even know where it came from.
And it's the letter I.
Yeah, I know the letter I. I know it's crazy.
It's not EYE. It's the letter I.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's talk to people or tell people the pros and cons. If you're thinking about becoming a miniature pig owner, what would you tell them the good things and what would you tell them to look for and to kind of to walk somebody through? Because I know you do that. Can you kind of educate people if they're thinking about it? This is what they're going to get. This is what they need to really consider before they do that. So it goes into the right forever home.
So there are three things that we look at immediately before we get into a lot. And one is zoning. Zoning has been a problem for potbelly pig owners or pet pig owners. From time to time, a township or a complaint from a neighbor will challenge the idea that you have livestock for a pig, for a pet.
Right.
And that's true. Pigs are swine, but we can now prove that they are not livestock, that they are indeed companion animals. But that still doesn't stop zoning problems. So first thing we ask is please check your zoning.
Okay.
The other is that veterinary care is still kind of a hassle to find a good veterinarian.
Right.
So we do need to consider the fact that you need to look for a vet. You're not going to find a dog and cat vet that's going to be doing pigs necessarily. So that's important. The third thing is home ownership. The landlords can change their mind about it because pigs have a bad name when it comes to
Routine, digging around and stuff like that.
rooting is one thing that they, of course, the landlord doesn't want to see.
Sure.
So that's important that you own your home and that you can make that decision based on other things. So once those three things are put aside, now we start to look at what does your home look like? Can the pig walk directly out of the house without using steps? Are you willing to ramp? If not, the pig can only live on the first floor.
So they can't do steps very well.
They should not do steps. Now,
Okay.
when they're younger, they can go up and they can come down. But each time a pig goes down, it's putting too much pressure on its front legs.
Okay.
Pig in the nature does not come down on their front legs, hardly ever.
Okay.
And so that causes early onset of arthritic conditions. So stairs are something else about the home. Then lifestyle is something that we look at. I mean, do you travel a lot? Do you have somebody to take care of the pig when you're gone? Are you going to school? I wanted to say education, but education plays no part in being a good family for a pet pig. But are you thinking about going on to college? Is this a good time for you to have it? So your lifestyle is another thing that we talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So those are kind of the basics, I think, that we're looking at when we are trying to interview a prospective new family.
Like I have a dog door at my house. My dogs go in and out all day long. Do pets ever use dog doors and go? I mean, pigs ever use dog doors to go in and out themselves? Because my Bob lived in our house when he wanted to be in the house, and he was outside when he wanted to be outside.
They do dog doors.
Uh-huh. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that it is. It can be very helpful. In fact, a lot of, I won't say a lot, but some homes have put a doggy door in, and so that they can go right from their pen out the doggy door and into an outdoor pen.
Okay, so now let's talk about the benefits of the wonderful, cool things about owning a pig for somebody that may be interested. But obviously you must love these guys. Tell everybody the cool things about them that they may really like, other than the fact that they're real smart.
They sleep a lot.
So you don't have to do much.
So they don't require walking. They do require grazing, meaning being outside.
Right.
Having some time, having a yard with grass. I think those are all very important. They're very affectionate.
They are.
They can be, can't they, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they can be very affectionate. They're humorous. I'll tell you, I believe that the majority of people who have them that are just kind of head over heels are people who like to nurture, because these are like toddlers. They're like 3-year-olds and they never grow up. And you don't have to pay for college tuition.
And they live a long time too.
And they live a long time. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, they can live. We just said goodbye to a 20-year-old. In fact, two, 119 and 120. So
So one of the questions I was thinking about when you were talking about vet care, what kind of vet? I know because I don't remember taking Bob to a vet at all. But what kind of vet care aside from grooming their the hoof care and all that? What are they doing when they go into the vet? Just looking at their overall health, or what are they doing?
well, they are a pretty healthy animal, all in all.
Yeah.
They are pretty healthy. The vets are doing the hoof trimming, tusk trimming, and vaccinations.
Okay.
So that's the basic, but there's, accidents where emergency vets won't take a pig. There are illnesses that creep up that the vets don't know what they might be. Skin is an issue with pet pigs, white ones in particular. The skin conditions can happen. So so there's a few needs for veterinarians beyond the routine.
So the vaccines they get, are they pretty much the standard things that dogs get, like rabies and stuff like that?
We do recommend that they get rabies. There was a time when they said rabies, pigs are kind of immune to rabies. Well, that's not necessarily true. And we have too many backyard pigs. So we do recommend rabies, and we have seen a case or two of rabies in pigs.
One of the things I read too is that they're susceptible to colds.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Pneumonias. Yeah, they can get a cold.
Now, the other thing I read on your website, some of your long-term ones you have are the special needs pigs. What's a special need pig? Define that for me.
Well, we have Defoe, who's a special need pig. Inbreeding has been going on now with the potbelly pig population so severely that we're seeing unusual malformed pigs.
Mm-hmm.
In Defoe's case, she's missing a major bone out of each one of her rear legs.
Oh.
So she kind of walks around like she has little chicken wings trying to walk. So that's one deformity. But we also have pigs that, obesity is kind of a special needs. Then we have elder care, which we have 5 elder care pigs that really want to be in elder care, where they're really not in a pen anymore. They're special fed. We get them out and up every day, which is not easy. So yes, old age, arthritis. Yeah, there's a few things that cause them to be special.
Well, you guys do some pretty special stuff too. I was reading about it. So when you're doing some of your fundraiser, one of the ones that really stood out to me was Kiss a Pig event. I love that name. So what is that? Tell me.
Well, there's, sometimes a school will give the students a challenge that if they read so many books, that the principal will kiss a pig, or
That's cute.
the teacher or somebody. So I will take the pig to the school in the auditorium, and the children will gather around and watch their principal kiss the pig. So that's one. But there's another one that I've been doing for a number of years. There's a local credit union who it raises money for financial literacy.
Oh, that's cool.
And at the end of each year, she does a special event for everybody. And so all of the people who have raised money for this cause get to kiss a pig. And so I bring the pig and he gets up on his stage
That's hilarious.
and he kisses about 20 people who are being recognized as being outstanding. So yeah, that's kind of a couple of kiss the pigs that I've done.
Okay, so here's a question, and I have a guess on this thing. How many pigs have you met that are named Babe?
Not as many as you think
Oh, really?
anymore, but I think back in the day when Babe was around that we found quite a few of them. I'm going to say Babe was better than 20 years ago. So
Yeah, I love the movie, though. It's such a great movie.
it is. It is a great movie. I love Babe.
So one of the things that I've learned, and you've mentioned when we talked to each other, one thing for everybody listening, if you end up getting a pet pig, is to don't overfeed them. That's of all the things that the big mistake that we made was overfeeding Bob, because they'll keep eating and grow bigger and bigger.
That's right. Yeah, they can just keep getting taller and wider and more rounded every day. And so, yeah, feeding is really, really important, how you control that. It also helps with their behavior. But I will say this, Mark, one of the things that I have discovered is that we should have two pigs instead of one.
Because they get lonely.
They get lonely and they sleep together, but they're talking pigs to each other. And so a lot of the behavior problems that we see with pigs who are really trying to protect the house and be grumpy when people come over, a lot of those pigs are single. In fact, almost all of them are single pig homes. And so putting a second pig in those homes has been very beneficial in overcoming that behavior for the first pig.
Well, that's interesting. First off, so they're basically, are they good? Like, I'm going to say watch dogs, but like you're saying, protecting the home. Are they like watch pigs too? Like the protecting the home from, people being there? Because they make sounds, they squeal and do all kinds of stuff. Do they actually, are they similar? Like geese can be really, good watch geese. Is there a thing such as a thing as watch pigs?
Well, I have heard of pigs who have frightened burglars and who are really not happy when somebody comes into their turf. I have heard of those occasions. Don't have any that I have witnessed myself, but yeah, pigs are not necessarily a watchdog.
Well, I can tell from my personal experience, and my experience was real positive. We only had one, and I didn't know that, but I think because Bob got along with our other animals, and my kids were really little at the time, so they got a lot of attention. He got a lot of attention, and he was just part of the family like a dog was. It was pretty cool.
Yes, yeah. I mean, not all single pigs are going to be bad pigs.
Right, I get it, but that makes sense. You don't want to be by themselves, and it's nice to have somebody else to talk pig to. Anyway,
Yes.
and I've been called a pig many times. Anyways, let's tell everybody how they can find you, how they can help you. Let's get into, your website, the different ways you can help support your guys, because you guys are responsibly getting it out there. So if it goes into the right homes, and I know you take in abandoned pigs and all kinds of other stuff. Can you kind of give everybody that information so we can get that out there for you?
Well, we are rossmillfarm.com,
Okay.
and we go by Ross Mill Farm and Piggy Camp on, I think, Facebook and Instagram. But I have another organization called Pig Placement Network,
Right.
and that is a national database of pigs who need a home. And we get in applications that we're screening. And so we're matchmakers. So we're just kind of like a dating site, let's say, where, you want a pig, you apply for it, you get all the information that you need to make a good decision. And then we help you find a pig that is good for your situation.
And that's PPN, but I was just sitting there thinking, instead of Bumble, you just call it Piggy. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It's kind of cute. So save your website again, because I'll have links to everything so everybody can hear that, so they know how to find that. And by the way, everybody that's listening, when they, that are listening now, in the description, it will be in there for you can find it. But go ahead and bring that up again, Susan, please.
Okay, it's rossmillfarm.com and also pigplacementnetwork.org.
Perfect. Now, and for everybody that's listening out there, and I'm going to get to my favorite period of time that I always cringe, and you do too. I can tell you as a past pig owner that, especially if you've got little ones, if you do it right, they're really, really fun animals to have. They're really a nice pet. I can honestly, having been one, say that it was a real positive experience. And my kids to this day still talk about Bob. So it was really a great experience for us. Okay. So I know that I had forewarned you that I like to tell a silly animal joke at the end of every episode. And for everybody out there listening, I know you cringe when we do this, but here's my joke of the day, and it's a pig joke. So my question is, when a pig is going out to the theater to see its play, what do you think its favorite play is? Do you have any idea, Susan?
Hamlet.
Hamlet, exactly right. Okay, guys, I know you're cringing. So as I say every week, I dread it every time, even though I love doing it. If you've got a better joke that you want to do, or you've got your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, nephews, or whatever, and want to be on the show, if you email me at mkyle@forrealpodcast.com, I will promise you that I will put you on, and I respond to all of them. And also for the listeners out there, if you've got a great idea for an episode like this one today, please email me, because I do respond to everybody, and I get them pretty regularly. And if I can have it on, I will definitely have it on. Again, it's mkyle@forrealpodcast.com. Susan, thank you so much for being on the show. For me, I was really excited to have you on there. It's funny, I've been telling people that we were going to do this episode, and so many people were interested to hear this. And I'm sure the listeners out there really appreciate it too. So thanks so much for being on.
Thanks, Mark.
And for everybody else out there listening, keep following, spread the word, listen, follow, do all those things and all the different platforms. But most importantly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening. For real.
That concludes this episode of For Real with your host, Mark Kyle. For previous and future episodes of For Real, listen via all major podcast streaming sites.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.